I had the craziest dream last night about a girl who was turned into a swan, but her prince falls for the wrong girl and she kills herself. He promised to feature me more this season.
Well, he should. You've been there long enough. And you're the most dedicated dancer in the company.
Our new swan queen, the exquisite Nina Sayers.
I'm Lily. It's gonna be amazing.
Watch the way she moves. Sensual. She's not faking it.
Seduces! Attack it! Attack it! Come on!
Where'd you get these?
It's nothing.
You sweet girl.
Feel my touch. Respond to it.
Is someone's hot for teacher?
I don't want to talk about that.
You really need to relax.
It's the role, isn't it? It's all this pressure. I knew it'd be too much. I knew it.
Ow, what's she doing here?
He made me your alternate.
The only person standing in your way is you.
How do you know where
I have my ways.
she's after me?
Nobody's after you.
Please believe me.
What happened to my sweet girl?
She's gone.
Black Swan 2010.com.
Oh, man. That movie's 12 years old. Oh my god.
What a genuinely nuts movie to have to make a trailer for, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
Well, you know, you ever see the trailer for Pi? I mean, like that one's even weirder.
I haven't seen the trailer for Pi. I think I saw that movie a long time ago, but
I saw it in the theater, like when it first came out.
As did I.
Yeah, I was like, this looks good.
I should probably say, welcome to Movie Night Extravaganza, episode 66, Black Swan. Yeah, I actually had missed this movie, I think, when it first came out. This is the first time I've seen it. I remember everybody getting obsessed with it, though. I guess 12 years ago. That's crazy. But I am joined by J. Andrew World, illustrator, artist, collaborator, ballet dancer.
12 years of Swan. Just like the movie.
That's how that movie goes, right? Yeah, 12 years.
Yeah. He just
12 years of Swan.
Sorry, I promised I was going to stop interrupting on Andy's intros, but
you're gonna get canceled by the Root for that joke. We're also joined by Platonic Reversals and Conan Neutron, the Secret Friends. Conan Neutron. Which one of you guys is the white swan of the show? Which one of you guys is the black? I feel like Conan's the black swan of the show.
I was gonna say whatever gets me to work on my tight five apparently is the one I am. But yeah, I don't know. Good question. I think we all have a little black swan and a little white swan in all of us. Truly.
Yeah. Some have a little more of some, and some have a little more of others. But
I'm more of a gray swan.
I'm more of a goose. I just like to honk at people and chase them around.
Yeah. Shoot the hostage. I'm a goose. Yeah, so.
Also joined by Kristina Oakes, who, Kristina on Twitch. She's the one that, put us on to watching this movie for this episode. It's been in the works for a while. Yeah. How's it going?
Oh, yeah. I totally forgot. I hadn't seen this either. And like, I love
Me either.
all of these guys' movies, and
Damn,
like, this
is my favorite movie of all time too.
it's like Conan catnip. I'm like, how did I miss this? I don't know. I have no answers. But yeah, thank you, Kristina, for prompting us to do this excellent movie.
You're welcome.
Also, I walked over your intro too, so I'm going 2 for 2.
We're also joined by Rayyvana, Ray Actions on Twitch, and the frequent TYT as your hoodie says, main show guest.
I had to rep. Not sponsored, but actually I'm sponsored, so go to shoptyt.com.
I think we're one guest away from getting a TYT sponsorship at this point. We'll get that for the letterboxed one, frankly.
I was gonna say we're one guest away from getting Jank to come on and talk about some random movie.
Enemy of the State. Get him on to come talk about Enemy of
And
the
it'll be
State.
just like when Barber's on, none of us will get a word in as words. Hey, everybody, come on the show.
No,
Jank.
true and accurate. Being on the main show with Jank is like, okay, I might have like Jank will have 45 minutes of time that he's talking. I'm gonna try to get in 45 seconds, like at least one 45-second continuous monologue about something before he cuts me off.
Right. Call your shot, because that's the only one you're gonna get.
Yeah.
He was on. I remember editing his phone appearance on TMBS when he came on to talk about his congressional campaign, and it was literally
about that.
Yeah, well, so it was literally the opposite of Michael talking over Destiny for 40 minutes. It was just Jank talking over Michael for 40 minutes.
I mean, at least what he's saying is awesome. But yeah, he is the kind of guy, I call it for Protonic. It's like he's the kind of guy that's like a wind him up and watch him go sort of guest,
Yeah. You
Hey,
know which
you can kick back.
guests are those guests.
Yeah. And stay out of their way so they don't chide you on your own show for trying to maintain order.
Yep, that happens.
And or
Waterboard
Dan Rather.
That's gonna stand as one of that entire interview is gonna stand as genuinely one of the most nuts moments that I've had in like the past 2 years. And the fucking waterboarding Dan Rather moment is insane.
It's astounding. It's the craziest moment of podcasting in my 12 years plus of podcasting. Like, it's freaking.
Are you saying you're 12 years a streamer?
12 years a streamer.
Believe it or not, that's the movie that has the N-word less than 12 Years a Slave.
I don't know about that, to be honest. I've met streamers.
Depends on the streamer, my dude. Depends on the streamer.
Yeah.
So Black Swan, the movie that we all watched,
that we're ostensibly discussing. Yeah.
What do you guys think about her voice that she uses throughout it? And there's a whole story.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know the story.
All right, tell the story.
So, as we all know, Natalie Portman is known for having a very, very soft voice, very, very soft, very frail voice that she always got made fun of. And as her acting career progressed, she did her best to get out of that. However, with Black Swan, they're like, no, we want like your original like voice, like that very soft, delicate, frail, shaky, whiny voice. And she was like, God damn it. And then she won an Oscar. So
yeah, that's actually not the story. So she's doing not just her original voice, she's doing like a baby voice, like that's what she calls it. And Darren Aronofsky, like talking to her about it, is like, I don't think you should do this. I think that doing the voice is going to be too much for you. And she's the one that actually pushed for it and said, look, I'll try this out, but they kind of keep they keep ballet dancers kind of in like a state of like perpetual childhood. And she felt like as they're kind of keeping them in this weird preteen almost like mentality, like they call them by like, like pet names, they like all of that stuff is true. She felt like maybe she should use this like really, really soft, high-pitched baby voice throughout the making of this. But Darren Aronofsky felt like, I think that here, I have a clip of it, her talking about it. But he felt like maybe using a fake voice might be too much for it and it might not work in a certain way. And so they were like, I don't know, they weren't sure about it, but it worked really well and she did win an Oscar for it. So
yeah, the Oscars are never wrong.
I think in this case, though, she
actually not with Ash. Thank you. I hate Crash. Thank you.
Just tell us about that scene.
Well, part of establishing this character as a little girl was doing this voice that Darren, when we first talked about it, was a little reluctant because he thought it might be silly. So we just were like, okay, we'll try it. If it's not working, you just tell me and we'll.
But where it came from was all the training that Natalie did. She came to me at one point and said, have you noticed that all these dancers talk with these little baby voices? And I was like, oh, wow. And it goes back to what Natalie was saying before about keeping these, and the value of keeping them young. And so we were interested. We were just nervous about it because it's a big choice as an actor, but it was something to play with as she turns into the Black Swan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And preparation for you, I mean, there are a whole bunch of ballerinas have written books and everything else.
Yeah, I
Suzanne
had
Farrell and others.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I read the Suzanne Farrell, I read the Allegra Kent, the Tony Bentley.
Right.
I tried to locate it in the City Ballet world because I think it's really helpful to have a very specific culture you're relating to, even though ours is not about City Ballet. And certainly not about the current City Ballet. It was very much the sort of Balanchine world where Mr. B was deified and this whole sort of religion grew around him.
All right, roll tape. Here's another scene. This is where your rehearsal is interrupted by the arrival of the competition.
Not self-controlled. Seducers. Not just the prince, but the court, the audience, the entire world. Come on. The fouettiere like a spider spinning a web. Attack it. Attack it. Come on.
And attack it. She did.
Yeah. What's also sad too about ballet, is that not only are they consistently being have to be almost children, is that how intense the dieting is and how they have to keep their figure a certain way too.
Yeah. And I mean,
as opposed to other types of dance, with jazz dance and even tap dancing, you don't really have to be skinny as a rake, flat chested even.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, Natalie Portman is someone who did ballet for a short, period of time when she was young, and ended up becoming an actress, and then leaving behind ballet because she's well, now I'm doing something that's going to take up all of my time. But I mean, I think a lot of young girls were at the time, especially when Natalie Portman was growing up, because she's not that old, and a lot of girls were really into ballet. And
she was a child actress too. Remember?
Yeah.
She was young in
The Professional.
Which somebody had that really awkward tweet recently, and they deleted it about thirst posting about Natalie. Natalie.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Hey.
Yeah,
Same thing going on with Millie Bobby Brown. Everyone's oh, she's 18 now, which means we can totally thirst over her. And I'm
everybody except Drake, who's
Drake's
I'm
been doing it since before she was 18. Now she's 18. She's too old for him. So.
Oh yeah.
I saw this meme yesterday that it was the fucking Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street when he's I'm not fucking leaving, but it's Drake and it says Millie Bobby Brown turns 18. He says I'm fucking leaving.
Real talk though, Professionals. I think that's a great movie, albeit maybe not fully up to modern sensibilities. I think my saying is you can always get away with it when it's French. Some reason people give a dispensation for sleazery when it's French, and it's not really sleazy necessarily as a movie, just the culture around it. But that said, what a great performance in that.
Now I've only seen Leon, so I'm going to be totally honest here. I know there's a big difference between Leon and The Professional. The way it's cut. Pardon my ignorance, but I know Leon kind of showed that she's an adult, more mature. But not necessarily, but there wasn't anything else, was there? I don't remember.
I'm going to be real with you. I do not remember at all, but I like the movie at all. And I was absolutely impressed with, I was wow, that little girl was awesome. I remember at the time being holy crap, she's a great actress. And then that was young. Before she was ever in a Star Wars, that was.
Yeah. And also Portman. Too, with her, she definitely had to go on a very, very strict diet for this role. But she looks like she's bulking up for the new Thor movie too. So she's not afraid to transform her body for a role.
Oh, so what I was saying though with her doing ballet when she was younger and kind of giving it up, she never really got into the professional ballet space, I guess, where someone really is forced into that stuff. So she said that before filming this, she really thought that ballet dancers were that thin because, you know, well, they dance a lot and they don't necessarily eat a lot, but like she didn't realize that, like, no, they're really forced into this lifestyle where you're constantly dieting, you're kept at this size where like you do look like a child. And like it depends on where you're actually doing ballet, because, you know, there are places in Europe and stuff where it's not that rigorous. Like you are kind of allowed to be a little bit, I guess, thicker is the term, like still skinny, but like you're allowed to kind of not have that tiny child like frail look.
Yeah.
So that kind of fascinated me because I never really thought about the differences between all of those places.
Well, it has to be a lifestyle. They aren't given a choice because it's like all these other aspects of like there's other aspects of things around it that is just not optional not to do those things. All you can do is have your entire identity wrapped into something that literally you have to stop doing at a certain age because you physically won't be able to do it anymore, which is wild.
Yeah.
I think also it's like sort of similar to the way that they're constantly injuring themselves. It's just pain. Like ballerinas are constantly in pain. They're constantly hurting themselves, you know, contorting their bodies in ways that it probably shouldn't be contorted. And their feet are just beat the fuck up. Like all the scenes where they were pulling her like ankle to make it pop.
Like a whole like 2 inches. She like, oh my God. Like that's so that ankle was so cramped.
It was.
There's a couple moments watching this movie where I screamed.
Yeah, because it's so brutal.
Can you imagine Quentin Tarantino watching this movie?
Oh my God!
What are you doing to the feet? No!
Why are they webbing up?
Yeah, that scene where she's getting like I guess maybe like a chiropractor or like the physical therapist of like the ballet dancers. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, if I were to go and get that done, I bet I would probably grow like a whole 2 inches.
I screamed both times I watched this movie though when she crushes her mom's hand in the door.
Yes.
And I literally went both times, and it was like involuntary. Like my body, just hearing that snap, I was just.
To be fair, it was more like when somebody says something on the show, and I went, "Oh!" But like, yeah, same thing. Like I was a visceral reaction to that.
I was like, "Oh, good for her."
And then not really understanding at first that she's transforming into the swan. Right after that, you have her legs contort and go.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what's happening? Like, holy fuck!
Or she's picking the feathers out of the her back or whatever.
Like, what in the F is going on now? Do I need to message Kristina right now to find out, or should I wait?
Well, it's also this thing, right? I mean, self-harm. I'm sure everybody knows people that have self-harmed. Like, it becomes kind of this fixation, right? It's about control, and it sometimes feels like, you know, like people almost act like there's something inside of them they have to get out. So when she's scratching her back, like it probably is that she feels like, you know, she's in control in that moment, and she's like almost scratching to try to like get to something. Like it feels like you're kind of achieving a goal almost. So for her, that scratching to happen, and then all of a sudden like a feather just pops out, is like an insane kind of almost weirdly like cathartic, like, oh shit, there really was something in there. And as she kind of transforms into the fucking swan, like,
let's go.
Yeah. Not in the way that you should, not in a healthy way, but
yeah. But also it's sad too that, you know, she has this very like strict like ballet lifestyle. She also has a mother who, in my theory, molested her and abused her in every way possible.
Yeah, I agree. Like that, I think that's like the only way you can read why she has that wooden stick that she's hiding in her room. Like,
yeah.
Otherwise, divorced from that context is like, what the fuck is that for? Other than like potentially fighting off her mom in a
wampum stick. Yeah, that's my wampum stick.
Does it again?
Yeah, I mean, control. I mean, not only because she was also her mother was a ballet dancer as well, who didn't succeed because she got pregnant with Natalie Portman's character.
Yeah,
but
they don't spell that out. She's just
but if you know, it has total kind of stage mom energy. Like the scene with the cake.
Yeah,
where she's not sufficiently stoked about the cake, and she's like, "Well, I guess I'll just throw it away." And it's like, oh,
sweet girl. Notice that Mila Kunis said that, and my theory is that the mother was doing something to her, and she just dreamt that it was Mila Kunis.
Oh wow, I didn't.
So it's like Fight Club. Fight Club for chicks.
I thought it was.
Wait, Andy, did you see Fight Club? really.
Yeah. That's where Brad Pitt turns into a swan.
No, I really did think it was gonna be like Fight Club. I thought we were gonna find out after the fact that Mila Kunis like didn't exist or something. Like that was my theory all the way up until the end when she comes in and was like, oh, you're gonna do fine out there. Which I mean, it's just she's just kind of an understudy that's like really trying to do everything she can to push her over the edge, which makes sense. And then of course in her mind, because things are like warping and changing, this kind of becomes her Black Swan. But at
She
first.
probably
But, like,
partied with too much Molly that Mila Kunis gave her. She passed out. Her mother probably did something to her while she was sleeping, and she dreamt up a situation with Mila Kunis' character. And yeah, I'm like, why is she calling her sweet girl? And then I was looking through the internet, and there were some theories about that situation. I'm like, oh fuck, that is.
I thought it was more that she was just hallucinating that Mila Kunis was saying that to her, because there's like a moment where her face is like a mom's face, right, in that scene. So it seemed more like she was.
That's cool. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Like
she was like engaging in it. She was with Mila Kunis, but like she's hallucinating things that have happened with her and her mom. So it's. But I think that's an interesting theory, though. Yeah. Although I hated Natalie Portman's character. Full disclosure, I didn't feel very much sympathy towards her the entire movie. Like, the situation is terrible, but like, I think that she's also a very destructive and harmful person.
Yeah,
and like, it's just hard to sympathize with
just
her.
Just let go, my God! Like,
she's obsessed with control, and I mean, you can probably read into the psychology of that, like the mom kind of being incredibly controlling. Whether you believe that the mom has abused her in that way, or just physically abused her throughout her life, and like made her feel like she needs to be in control this much. Like watching through Natalie Portman talking about the how she felt about it, and there is a whole thing on the mother, so I'll pull that up as the next clip. Watching her talk about it, like this is like a destructive relationship where it's the only time she really can let go in some way at home, because she's in a completely different controlling space as someone who's like a young adult, I guess, at home than she is when she's kind of like just this like sweet, incredibly perfectionist ballet dancer. Like it's a different level of power, I guess, and control for her. I don't think it necessarily is sympathetic or unsympathetic, but I do think that there is a lot to talk about with people who are creative that like put themselves through this stuff, and how destructive those people can be.
Mm-hmm.
I got a lot to say about that, but let me also just say that her mom sucks. Thank you.
Yeah, her mom definitely sucks.
Barbara was telling us that you shot the stuff with your mom in the movie all at the end.
Yes.
After you had already done all the dancing and you'd done all that part of it. Did that make it easier? Did it make it more challenging? Were you someplace clearer in terms of doing those scenes?
It was hard because a lot of the relationship with the mother, because we didn't really rehearse either, was, I mean, I obviously knew what was written in the script, but so much changed on set that, it's hard to know specifically what that relationship was while we were shooting. So it plays so much into her life throughout that, it's important. It was an important element, but Darren did a really wonderful thing where he had her write me letters. I don't know if she told you about this, that he would give to me on important days. But also Darren was really great personally. Like the scene where I call my mom and tell her that I got the part. Barbara was working that day and she couldn't on another film and couldn't be on the phone with me. So Darren did that with me, and it was really great because he was able to just direct me through whatever he was saying to me on the other end of the line. And we discovered so many things. It was really the most exciting day on set because we found all of these things, like that they could be competing with each other, that they could be, that she wants to please her mom, but she's also putting her down and she's also insulting her. And there's, even when she's so sort of quiet with everyone else and submissive with her mother, there's this power because she's the ballerina and her mother's the has-been. And there's this power dynamic that shifts when she's at home, that she's kind of a different person. And we found a lot of that stuff in playing during that particular scene.
So does the script change at that point, or is it just how you play the scenes when you finally get to play them?
It's both. I mean, there were a lot of sort of line kind of tweaks that had to do with how comfortable the words felt coming out of our mouths, that all of the actors sort of contributed to, and a few sort of additions that had to do with ideas of our own. And also, of course, the way we play the scenes because of these sort of ideas you get from playing while you're on set.
So there's so many layers going on throughout the whole movie. I mean, does Darren protect you from thinking about that, or do you have to be very conscious of each take, what level of it you're working on? Or
yeah, I mean, it's both. Like I have my preparation. It's pretty, anal with like, where am I in the story? What's coming before? What's after? Where am I in the progression?
You know what's funny about this movie is that people made jokes about this being like the female Joker. I'm like, no, it's the female version of the wrestler.
Yeah.
And that's literally, I mean, it's supposed to be like kind of almost like a spiritual sequel to that, right? It's
yeah.
Well, and then what's crazy, I totally watched and enjoyed The Wrestler, but I did not watch and enjoy Black Swan, and I'm going to blame sexism for that because I'm sexist. But it has more to do with The Fountain, which I found abhorrent, and I had a big mad on for Aronofsky for a long time. But yeah, I just missed it, but they are absolutely, like, the art is different, right? But the pursuit of perfection within the art and the sort of defining of yourself by the art is absolute in both, and they are sort of like siblings in a way. It's kind of crazy because you wouldn't think
they did that on purpose.
ballet,
Like, they envisioned that they envisioned both those movies being kind of in the same universe, like almost as if, like when something's not like a sequel like chronologically, but it's like a sequel spiritually to a different movie. And they talked a lot about that. Because I watched, there was an hour long.
Yeah, like how Breakin' 2 was like a spiritual sequel to Breakin'. Right.
No, so I watched, there was an hour long thing where it was the cinematographer Darren Aronofsky and the editor kind of talking at like DP30. This movie came out at the perfect time when YouTube was kind of starting to blow up to the point where like they would put like full like hour long interviews with the director of every popular movie that came out around the Oscars. Like they'd put up those interviews and like put up interviews with the entire cast.
Yeah, nobody knew what it was going to be at the time, right? Nobody knew it was going to radicalize grandma. That was just like, hey, here's a new thing. Like,
yeah. So I don't know. I find her preparation for it interesting because in some ways she kind of reminds me of Nina, like the way that she practices her art. I think kind of like she seems like she's incredibly obsessive about it, incredibly perfectionist. Like Natalie Portman went to college so that she could like kind of study acting like in a different way, like, you know what I mean, like in different ways. Like it seems like her obsession with her craft is a lot like this character, like the aim for perfection, I guess. And she does it again and again to the point where I think even Darren Aronofsky, who they were very close, and they talked about making this movie for 9 years before a script actually appeared.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. So it was originally not going to be a ballet movie. It was originally going to be about like off-Broadway actresses or something, and her like fighting her way to the top of that, which I feel like there's kind of almost parallels with like Showgirls if that was the way that this movie was made.
Ugh.
But
Sorry.
but instead it became about ballet dancers, and she kept asking Darren Aronofsky, like she'd see him walking in studios and stuff and be like, hey, like when are we gonna do this like Black Swan ballet movie, like, and he's like, oh, and he kept on making other movies during that whole 9 years, and he was like, oh well, it's not time, and then finally she's like, no, let's make this fucking movie. He's like, all right, I got the script, I think.
He was going to make The Fountain too, but
I was so furious. I saw that movie in the theaters. It's possible it could have been madder, maybe if it was the Brown Bunny, but other than that, no, I could not have been madder. I don't like that movie at all. But I think you hit an important point, Forrest, and I think it's more notable, and we should probably kick it to as she disappears to go do the thing that she needs to do. I was going to kick it to the ladies that, like, I think there is something that's tied up, something that's different than The Wrestler, right? Is the idea of the pursuit of perfection, of the art, but also the unification of like being perfect as like a person, as a human, as a woman. I mean, that's like, this guy, and this guy don't really have to deal with that nearly so much. And I think that that's something that I like, that it's explored in the way that like the French dude that's like the ballet instructor, like
Castle.
Yeah, I love that actor. He's in La Haine too. He's in all kinds of stuff.
Brotherhood of the Wolf.
He's the son of a famous French actor too, Seymour. right? Seymour Castle. Yeah.
His two top credits: Lahane and Brotherhood of the Wolf. Yes,
Brotherhood of the Wolf's a legit good movie. I'm going to defend that movie. I'm sorry,
but I guess what I'm driving with it is that, like, you know, and then put that with her mother, who has like unfulfilled ambition of her own, and then also has, you know, kind of manipulative tendencies, emotionally manipulative anyway, and like. I'm really glad.
Really,
and she's kind of into it.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know, Kristina. You're the SME, subject matter expert for Black Swan. But like, am I off base here? I mean, I think that's sort of like it's perfect that it's ballet, like absolutely perfect, because there is that just everything being one, you know, Venn diagram of three circles that are one circle of expectation.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And like what's so funny, you know, you got these ballet dancers who are meant to be very, very childlike, but also at the same time, they're supposed to be like sex objects.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to, you know, Vincent's, you know, the ballet instructor's character. It is weird that also what I've noticed is that that it's almost as if Darren Aronofsky kind of like based himself off of like this ballet instructor because of the fact he tried to get Natalie Portman and Mila Kunis to like be against each other, kind of like how this ballet instructor is doing it in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that in some ways, like the seductiveness of him, like you can see him, you know, in these interviews, like the seductiveness of it and kind of the supportiveness I think that he has for his actors couldn't be more different than, you know, the way that this ballet instructor is legitimately like a terrifying creative force that's kind of terrifying these ballet dancers into like submission and into seduction and all this stuff.
Yeah, and if you want to get the part, you got to put out.
Yeah,
and that was some straight up
casting
couch stuff, right? Yeah,
I can't see Darren Aronofsky, the guy, ever being able to do something like, you know what I mean, like do something like that in that way. Like he's kind of just this quiet, like very reserved kind of figure, like. But I do see
that also made Requiem for a Dream, but you know, let's which isn't exactly a reserved movie, but I love it.
No, but I mean, you know, there's a thing you can make art that's nothing like you as a person. Like
live vicariously through
I can't see him kind of just shrugging and be like, "Hey, Natalie Portman, if you want this movie," like I don't know why I did the Kermit the Frog voice.
Why is he Kermit the Frog?
Hey, if you want to be in this movie, you better fucking put out.
Why is it Jordan Peterson?
I think in my heroin movie it's going to end with double penetration. Yeah.
But I mean, there is that aspect though of being uncomfortable with that, and I do have a scene about she's talking about shooting sex scenes and how uncomfortable she felt, and the fact that she saw this movie for the first time with her parents. Her parents are sitting behind her.
Wow.
Oh boy. I feel bad for the actors in Euphoria.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in Euphoria yet, and every time I see it, I'm like, I feel like everyone's living this. They don't need to. Or I don't know. I mean, like, you know, I went to high school at the beginning of the opioid crisis. Like, I don't need to see Euphoria.
I get it. I lived it. Wow, way to be cynical for us. Jeez.
Uncomfortable? Is it really what's in service of the script, and that's just the choice you make when it fits? Or
it's really uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable. But you know, I think this movie was so much about how to, in order to become an artist, you have to find pleasure yourself. Mm-hmm. You have to learn how to please yourself and not be in service of other people, not be pleasing other people all the time. And I thought it was really necessary to show her discovering how to please herself. And I believed in those scenes. They were not comfortable to shoot. They're not comfortable to watch with my parents. But so it goes, and my parents are really cool. So
is that the kind of thing you discuss with Darren and Mark and say, can we change this or change this slightly, or do you just either believe in it or you don't believe in it? And
I think you believe it or you don't. I mean, you have to talk about it before you agree to do the film, or else if I would never like show up on the day and be like, you know what, no, you know, I mean, and Darren was very sensitive to it and, you know, was not never tried to get me to get naked
Right.
or, anything, and was just sort of like, if you go for it the first time, you don't have to do it again,
Well, is it for you the naked or the intimacy of something like that?
It's both, because, the intimacy, everything's intimate. I mean, being emotional on screen is
That's
really
true.
intimate. It's very vulnerable to share with other people. It's all intimate. That's not really, that's part of my job, is to be very exposed to people.
Mhm.
But the part I don't like is when what you put out there as part of a story, as art, can be expropriated into something disgusting and objectifying and salacious in another context, which it all inevitably is in today's media. So I'm just aware of that, because yes, I'm interested in being in a really provocative film. And no, I'm not interested in being on a porn site.
Right.
And that's the difference. It's like, how can and it's interesting, because if you show parts, you're on those sites. And if you do the exact same scene without showing very particular parts, you can avoid it. So that's
It's almost like they've taken that away from actors, like actresses.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think of Barbara Hershey coming up and doing Boxcar Bertha and whatever, it wasn't really that big a deal. I mean, I guess those pictures are on sites too, but now it's all very specific and constant.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's exploitative, and I do my best not to provide material for people who are going to use it in ways that are disrespectful.
Does all that stuff take away from the pleasure of your job?
Absolutely.
Sorry, my Instacart shopper brought me the most chicken I've ever seen in my life. I don't eat meat. I'm just like, I was standing there like, this is like a massive package. It's like 10 chickens. Do you need chickens?
I'm starving, so if you could just send that over the stream, that'd be lovely. Thank you.
The Great Chicken Massacre of 2022.
Are you sure it's not Swan? Dun, dun, dun.
But yeah, so I found that interesting, because I've never really thought about actresses ending up on porn sites for making kind of legitimate movie. Well, I mean, not saying legitimate like that, but like kind of more mainstream movies that show like penetration and stuff, like being used on porn sites separately. Like I've never really thought about that. And now I'm gonna make my own porn site and only use.
Well, yeah, you're a dude.
I mean, I know a few people in the industry.
Yeah. I mean,
nothing wrong. It's a profession. Nothing wrong with it.
It's a vocational hazard to have stuff on the internet that people will exploit, and
Yeah, but I mean, if you're doing that as a profession, you're getting paid to do that. You know what I mean? Like, so it's understandable that if you're getting paid to be in a film, you don't want somebody exploiting those. You're not getting paid for them putting that on a porn site. So it's like you can look at the labor value and the exploitation of it and say like, well, I'm not getting paid for this to be on a porn site. I'm getting paid to be in a film. Like that is the job that I want. I mean, I kind of think it does kind of throw shade at in some ways at people that do choose to be in like adult films, but I don't think that that's the intention of.
That certainly wasn't our intention. I mean, it's just sort of like, how can you all right, look at like something like I love Mulholland Drive, right?
I love that movie.
It's so good. It's so amazing. But of course, there's a certain segment of people that only care about one scene, right? And if you've seen the movie, you know exactly the scene I'm talking about. But like David Lynch that's just beautiful. The colors are amazing. But David Lynch got so upset by that. I think in some later revision or something, he did the black bar thing because he got so annoyed at people like, no, like that's, I mean, of course David Lynch like was upset about people not understanding the vision, right? But like it's so rare for him to actually speak out on it, and like that was one of the things that. And look, you've got two beautiful women expressing themselves sexually, like I get it, but like he didn't want that to be like taken out of context. He thought it, and it makes so much sense in the film, and it's so important to the film that like the idea that like, oh, this, dudes are stroking off to this, like with no context, like it's repulsive.
And not stroking off to the video of David Lynch eating those panties. Have you seen that video?
I have not. No.
There's a famous video that he was with a fan.
This is a digression I did not expect tonight.
He made some bet on a film community. He was part of a film community with like a bunch of his fans, and he made a bet. I don't remember what the bet was, but that he would put one of the people's panties in his mouth. If I had to play that video at the end of this. If he was wrong on the bet, he ended up saying panties, and then there's a video of him sitting next to this woman. It's so awkward, and he puts the panties fully in his mouth and goes. And then the video cuts.
That's like the modern version of Werner Herzog Eats His Shoe by Errol Morris. But
except this is like weird because the woman's watching him eat, like put the panties.
Were they at least edible, or
no?
I don't care. You know what? Okay.
They were not edible. They were not.
Well,
they were just normal
watch the Natalie Portman rap and just pretend we watched the David Lynch video.
Oh no!
Oh God! The Natalie Portman rap on Saturday Night Live.
We would get flagged for that.
Oh,
okay. All right. Point of order. So I think Natalie Portman's got a point here, right? To put yourself forward as an artist, which acting is art, right? Sorry, South Park guys. And you can have it taken out of context and like weaponized against you for like I get where that, I mean, like that's your world, that's your identity. That through no fault of your own can damage your brand, unless you're talentless, in which case can elevate your brand. No names mentioned, but I think that's I don't know. Like,
mention the names.
But I mean, Ray, how do you feel about that?
I think I understand the frustration, right? Because the point of the scene is not like to give people hard-ons. It's something. It's meant to convey a much deeper meaning. So it's the same thing with like David Lynch and being upset about Mulholland Drive. Like if you watch the movie and you get to that scene, like it's so transparently not supposed to like be getting you off or whatever. Like it's a serious development in the film. And then just to have it be ripped and re-uploaded to like Pornhub devoid of all context, like you are consuming the art out of context. And I'm not saying like sex work is art. I think that porn is art. Absolutely. But it is meant to convey horniness to the audience versus
the
these
intent.
It's totally the intent versus the sex scenes in these types of movies, that it's not just like a naked actress meant to bring people to the theater because the movie sucks. Otherwise, like it's not fucking, I don't know, just a movie where a woman pulls her tits out for literally no reason other than the fact that the script is so shitty
this
that
is
no
the last
one
time
would
you'll ever see these, Michael.
Yeah.
So take a good look.
This has been explained a lot in like Pam and Tommy. Like a lot of people are like, well, how come there's no real full frontal nudity of Lily James, but of Sebastian Stan? I'm like, first of all, that's probably a fake penis he's wearing, unfortunately. So I'm like, it's interesting how it's always. They want the woman. And I'm also here like she's probably wearing fake prosthetics anyway. So it's like
Yeah.
It's all fake.
I mean, I'm flat out not going to watch that. But she does not have the build for to do that unassisted, and that's fine. And I would be fine.
Pamela Anderson either at one point.
Yeah.
Like
This movie though, that scene, right? Like with Mila Kunis and with Natalie Portman, this movie kind of has Mila Kunis almost being like the audience, being the audience corollary when she realizes that this happened in her head and like whatever combination of like the slowly creeping insanity that she's facing because of this role and like her own hallucinations and the drugs and like whatever combination. When Mila Kunis laughs it off and goes, "Oh, you had a Leslie wet dream about me? How was I?" Like, and kind of laughs it off that way. Like, it's in the context of having an extremely intense moment, like an incredibly intense, sexual scene, and then kind of realizing, number one, it didn't happen. Number two, like Mila Kunis kind of just laughing it off, be like, "How was I? Like, was it good?" Like, and just kind of mocking her as she runs away.
I mean,
Like-
a good response though, because some people would be like offended, and I'll be like, "Hey, awesome! How was I? Was I good?" Like,
Yeah, it shows her character, right? Because she's
the
so
opposite
effortless.
of Natalie Portman's character.
Right.
She's literally
She-
the Black Swan to Natalie Portman's White Swan.
Right. She has like a breeziness and ease to what she does. It's just very easy for her to lose herself in it because it's not like she's not engaging with it seriously, but she's able to reach that more easily because that's more of her personality. Whereas it's work. It's everything is work with Natalie Portman's character.
Yeah.
Work.
But it is. I mean, I'm not kidding. Like, and that's one of like the defining parts of her character is she's like labors away so much at everything. It's like the exclusion of all else to the point of like being infantilized. Is that's how you say it, right? Infantilized by nearly everyone around her while also being sexy baby in some cases, which is one of the creepiest things that modern culture has come up with, for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. There's an ambition behind that, and there's like a reckless. I think not reckless, is ruthlessness behind it. That like Natalie Portman as a character in this is kind of unable to come to terms with.
At least subconsciously, there's definitely some lizard brain decision making that goes on, but it's actually very calculated in its way, but also kind of underneath. Like the greater layer of just her being a control enthusiast about everything and every part of what she does.
And that started at birth with her mom, most likely.
Which
her mother made her that way, but also too, like, it sucked that she doesn't have like an escape, which is why Mila Kunis was like, you really need to relax.
And she's right. She's 100% right.
All escape. Mila Kunis is
exactly.
99%. Like she's just flown in from California, San Francisco. She
shows up late, whatever.
She got her Molly ready. She doesn't even need to warm up. Like she's like
I want to
retiree
be
in Florida.
Like her when I grow up, because I was like 16 when this movie came out.
I remember seeing the commercial for this movie on TV in 2011. I was in like 7th grade. I remember watching the commercial for this movie and thinking it was about demons. I had no idea what this movie was about.
It's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, the ad is very
feeling
one
old.
of those films,
This came out right at the end of my my drought of watching movies because I had kids and I just wasn't getting out to see movies.
And they just weren't putting up those sex scenes on Pornhub anymore.
So. Mr. Skin just wasn't loading as fast as he used to.
This movie did, though, remind me quite a bit of The Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah.
Of course, it's less tragic. I mean, I think The Devil Wears Prada is very tragic. But just like the oh god, I can't remember the name of the character.
Which one? Anne Hathaway's character?
No,
Meryl Streep's.
Meryl Streep's character. It doesn't matter, but Meryl Streep's character
Cruella
is
DeVille.
Yeah, Cruella DeVille in The Devil Wears Prada. Like she embodies this obsessive, controlling individual, and it ruins her. It ruins her marriage. Like it ruins all of her relationships. It ruins her life. And on the outside looking in, she should have the perfect life. But this need to be in control, it undercuts her at every turn. And this pursuit of perfection guarantees that she will never achieve that perfection. And it's very sad. And although she doesn't like kill herself or die, like the Red Shoes, that's the name of that movie, right? The old movie that this movie is loosely based on. I watched that with my grandma once by chance and just like saw the connections between that and Black Swan when I was watching it. But just like those films, it's just this endless pursuit of perfection. Like even if ultimately it seems like, because in this movie she's happy when she dies, which is fucked up because she shouldn't.
You can argue whether or not she actually dies at the end of this movie because I think that Natalie Portman doesn't think she dies at the end of this movie. And
yeah, Aronofsky films are usually kind of like vague enough where like, is this metaphor?
Natalie Portman seems to have bought into. So
she attempted.
Aronofsky kind of said, "Hey, you get to decide how much of this is hallucination, how much of this is like what's happening like within her kind of, and how much of it is actually happening." So Natalie Portman's decision was she doesn't die at the end of it. It's kind of just a metaphor about becoming a woman. And so, I mean, which does make perfect sense that like
Yeah.
there's the kind of blood on her, which is kind of almost, you know, period-esque, I guess. Like she's become a woman at the end of the film. So I find that
That's
interesting.
what happens when you discover you have your first menstrual cycle and you're like, oh my god, pad, tampon, where is it?
And then the whole audience is just the whole audience is watching you, and you're just, you know, mad embarrassed, and everyone's like, "What happened? What happened?" And you're like, "Oh man, I didn't have a tampon. Goddamn, jeez, oh man."
Plug it up. Plug it up.
You know, my youngest was like, "Oh, it's puberty blood."
Ray, did you have more to that you were saying? No, we kind of got derivation there.
Yes.
No, I forgot. No, I don't know. Just like, yeah, just sort of. I think that it's a good.
What about
cautionary
the,
tale?
What about like they also emphasize like the fear of like having a doppelganger?
Yeah, there is kind of some like doppelganger panic.
Because because it was like a whole thing about it. Like, I guess because like with like understudies and like alternative like performers and swings and whatnot, they were like, yeah, there's this thing that goes around where certain performers kind of have like a fear of like having like a doppelganger, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, well, I think that's less than having a doppelganger and more about, I mean, and I think that I
better than you.
I wanted to, well, no, but I
you.
wanted to touch on this during this entire conversation because, you know, the Winona Ryder character, Beth, I think is her name in this. So
yes, Winona.
You can kind of see that she's almost in a way, I don't want to say corrupted, maybe, but like she is the Natalie Portman type character, right? Who is this, like originally you'd have to assume, I mean, this is all kind of assumed information, but like you have to assume she arrived with this ballet dancer, like the ballet instructor, and became his like muse, and throughout that had to like kind of sleep with him the entire time to keep the roles coming, and she's kind of reached the end, kind of like the you know the dying swan, like in the Swan Lake Ballet, like she's reached the end of her rope by this point, but like, you know, she kind of
people were talking trash in like the dressing room.
Oh my god, yeah, they were talking about how she was like
as they always do
menopause.
Yeah, it was brutal, and it was sort of like, man, like as an aging artist, it's like, Jesus, all right,
yeah, show respect to your elders.
Respect, Sonny.
Yeah, but they never do, and everyone's rooting for your downfall, right? So it's not really that you have a doppelganger, it's the, I mean, and I hate to reference Showgirls twice in this episode, but like it's the Showgirls thing where, you know, she literally pushes her down the fucking stairs in Showgirl, like, but it always is, right? There's somebody kind of lurking when you reach that point, when you're like the main person on stage, there always is the
why not opening night? Why does it have to be Showgirls? Like there's so many more great, anyway, go ahead, fine.
but because literally in that movie she pushes her down the flight of stairs, and
I've
just like,
fucking seen it, I just don't want to reference.
Natalie Portman didn't push in front of the bus.
It's
like, by the way, I also screamed.
Gina Rollins is better than
when she started stabbing herself in the face. I was like, like both times.
You guys are such babies. I was like, oh, cool.
That was wild. That was a wild.
She just
scene.
like me for real. No.
Okay, let me introduce a third theory. I disagree with both Kristina and Forrest a little bit. I think it's less like doppelganger, less rival-esque. I think it's more like having yourself reflected back at you and different versions of yourself, right? Because I mean, the whole thing with the movie is there's mirrors. She's always looking at a reflection, and like her reflection becomes like her worst hallucination in the movie. And so there's points where she like walks past people in the hallway and she sees her face on them, like very menacingly. So I think like in Beth, in her mom, like she sees, you know, her future, right, as a dancer, the inevitable end it will come to, and her fleeting youth. And in Mila Kunis, she sees, you know, what she wants to be, or what she wishes she could, you know, introduce into herself. She doesn't necessarily want to be her, but she just wants to adopt her as well as keep her own. You know?
Well, I pissed all over Andy's Fight Club analogy, but yeah, like the Ed Norton and Brad Pitt relationship in Fight Club, actually, there is some corollary to it. I just never going to use the opportunity to not make a joke like that.
And it seems to me that almost Beth kind of is able to embody, like Winona Ryder is able to almost embody both of them, not in the way that she's, you know, maybe not in her action. She just seems kind of by that point, her brain is kind of, and her whole mentality has been so corrupted that like literally she's like, oh, you're done with me, I'm gonna throw myself in front of a bus. But like it is kind of that light and that darkness reflected back, and that's like the perfect idol, right? The perfect idol that's kind of been melted, like almost, like, you know what I mean? Like it's
The
been
perfect
up there
swan.
forever. Yeah, and well, but so everyone's like, this is the person that you would aspire to be, but at this point, it's gotten so long that it's sad. Then there's two different kind of, the light and the dark. Natalie Portman is someone who is so technical with her abilities and so technical with her technique that like part of being a dancer, as I say in this, is like kind of letting go and letting people see this like this free side of you that she's unable to do because she's so obsessed with control. Meanwhile, like Mila Kunis is just that. Like she's just the black.
But she lives it, and she's a natural talent in that way, which is different than what Natalie Portman does. And I have something to say to that, but I think Kristina, you had something, right?
Yeah. God, what was I gonna say? Oh, like that's how people like, how some people like that are like older, they're such a free spirit, they let loose, and they act so like young. And
I'm right here.
Look young. Yeah, exactly. So
you're talking about our old friend from Dark Crystal,
Agra.
But like
Agra Posse gang.
It's like if Natalie Portman's like her character, Nina's like afraid to end up like Beth or her mom, which means old and bitter and frail even. Mila Kunis is like, I'm 30 years old, I'm doing Molly, I'm out partying, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm gonna do all
just
this.
like me for real.
Well, yeah, and so the whole idea of the pursuit of perfection is very interesting, because I think most people that actually are artists will agree that to a certain degree you have to let go of that and let the imperfection be part of the art, and the pursuit of what you're trying to achieve, which should not be perfection, which is impossible, becomes the artistic goal. And if the journey itself becomes the destination. And I think that's the difference with like Mila Kunis, honestly, doesn't like, her character doesn't seem like she really is got that much invested in. She's like, cool, right on, whatever. Yeah. I'll be the lead or I won't, whatever. It's chill.
I can just go back to San Francisco if y'all don't want me here.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's the happier artist path of like, it's not that she doesn't take it seriously. She clearly does, but she's not fitting into the societal norms of it being like, oh, it has to be joyless toil all the time. And if you aren't perfect, you're nothing. And that's not true. And now, and in something like ballet, there is a certain degree of societal pressure that it does have, like, it values like quote unquote perfection, which is never actually perfection. Nothing can actually be perfect. But the difference between those two characters is Natalie Portman's character dedicates her life and builds her life around that.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is that since it's not achievable, she's constantly disappointing herself and not living.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. It's interesting that there's the sexism element of it, which is that, the dancing, like the instructor, right, throughout the movie gets to kind of
disgusting.
He gets to be the guy that's called, though, like the artist, right? They're like, oh, he's brilliant. He's the one that's brilliant. It's not the women that are brilliant, that are really like pouring their entire lives into this. It's this like kind of disgusting, horny French guy that's like, I know how to seduce you. Like, so that guy gets to be the one that's called like the brilliant artistic genius. And it's almost like the women.
Yeah, he takes credit. Yeah. Stolen valor.
The women that are pouring everything into this and like literally dancing and using their bodies to kind of create art. It's like, yeah, well, he's kind of molding them in the shape that he wants them. And he's
gaslighting them and abusing them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's a very woke statement for someone to change his username to Big Titty Yoda. But that's
and I think it's interesting.
Big Titty Yoda makes some good points.
As alluding to what Big Titty Yoda was saying about the gaslighting, like he is gaslighting them, because what Conan was just getting at, like Mila Kunis is a very like, she's let go, but in a healthy way, in the way that Natalie Portman can't, because she's being forced to let go by the director in too quickly, in an unhealthy manner. But he is painting Mila Kunis to be some evil, undermining, conniving individual, when her character just doesn't seem like she gives a fuck. Like she cares about the art, right? She's good because she cares, but she isn't obsessed with it in like a detrimental way, and she isn't like trying to undercut Natalie Portman at every turn. And the way that directors sort of insinuate that she is, and just created in Natalie Portman's character's mind, who she believes Mila Kunis to be as like the embodiment of evil Black Swan. In reality, she's like the Black Swan, embodied in the way that it's just like, I'm calm, I'm not like obsessed, I am invested, but in a way that it's like, this is not my life, right? Like I can leave this, do other things, and I'll be satisfied. I'm not like, my perception of myself is not contingent on the way that you perceive me.
Yeah. It's a shame Rayyvana was getting uploaded to the Matrix while making all those excellent points.
Oh, was it internet?
Yeah, it like right as you started getting your
but I mean, I could hear it.
No, but it came through. It's just bad timing.
Okay, I don't know why I did that. I'm connected to the router, but sorry. Do you hear me?
But no, I think that's a great point though, and like there's a certain degree of that dude, like the guy from Lahane and what was the werewolf movie, Andy, again?
Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Yeah, Brotherhood of the Wolf. He pits them against each other, and he so clearly does it, and so clearly it's something that he's done many times before.
All in the service of the art.
Yeah, exactly. All in the service of getting his joint copped, as they say in The Sopranos, right? But like, I mean, it's so abhorrent because again, you see the end state of that, which is the Winona Ryder. I wish I could remember any of the characters' names, but
I know Nina is Natalie Portman, and I think Lily is Mila Kunis.
Yeah, that video.
Tomas is the
Tomas.
Yeah.
Of fucking course, it's a goddamn Tomas. Like that, a guy like that would be like,
it's
what
Thomas.
other name would it be?
He named Thomas. Let us call you Tom.
Oh. No, it's Tomas. I'm sure it fucking is.
There's actually a fun little horror movie, which I'm blanking on the name of it, but one of the main character's name is Thomas, but because he's of Hispanic descent and working with people from Mexico, they kept calling him Tomas. He's like, no, my name's Thomas. So it's like the complete opposite in this movie.
His art is perfect. He even earns that Tomas. No, I
don't know why there's a French dispensation for that certain amount of arrogance, but there is. Just like there's a certain
but typical French character.
Yeah, and there's a skeeviness that's allowed when it's French too. That like I'm fond of saying with certain movies, I'm like, look, they probably could have gotten away with this if it was French, but it's not.
I feel like that's how people sort of interpreted that movie, Cuties. Like a lot of people gave it a pass because it was originally French, and then when they made the American version, it was like the French version was fine, but for some reason the exact same American version was like pedophilia.
We gotta save those American children.
Both movies were sus. Like we can be honest about the fact that those movies were very sus.
Yeah, you gotta save the American children. Those French children, they're gonna grow up being perverts anyway. They're French. The American children.
If they had hold on, I gotta think. If they just remade Wild Things in French, then it would have been okay.
Oh yeah.
No, but there's a certain also, I think, to the story of Swan Lake, as I understand it. I mean, I'm not someone who's versed in ballet or in that story. I didn't grow up playing with.
Fucking out of here.
I didn't grow up playing with the Barbie Swan Lake.
Oh, I had the DVD for the movie, and I had the dolls as well. Same. Also, my grandma used to take me to see ballet all the time. The Nutcracker every Christmas.
I saw like several times. Every Christmas. That's the only ballet I've ever seen.
It's good. It's a good ballet.
Yo, the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy fucking slaps. I don't get it.
But okay, so real quick.
Wait, so I had a point that I was making though.
Oh,
so
okay.
as kind of a German story, right? And like almost like a very probably Protestant story. The idea of kind of, the Black Swan as her sin as an evil twin is that she seduces the prince that, the White Swan's in love with. And it does seem like as we kind of move away from that as like, oh, well, if women are horny, it's evil. Like women, like horny women are evil. We need to stay away from that. Like it's a very puritanical Protestant way of looking at the world. Somebody like Mila Kunis, who in this movie kind of is just let go, right? Like she's kind of this Black Swan character in Natalie Portman's mind, but to everybody else, it's like she just doesn't seem like she really cares that much. You know, whether she like is more sexually free than Natalie Portman in this movie, like she just doesn't seem like she cares that much. She's kind of let go.
Just
she wants to apologize to her. But in the story of Swan Lake, as they tell it in this movie, like the evil thing that it's this evil seductive force that like comes in and destroys, the white swan ends up committing suicide because she's the virginal one. She's the pure one. And
the Madonna whore.
Yeah. And of course, as a dancer, you have to embody both, which is the entire thing of this movie, which I don't understand why you wouldn't just have one white swan and one black swan. No one can really tell from fucking the audience anyway. But, I guess it's impressive that
swans, fucking black, gray, chartreuse, whatever, they're dancing, right?
I don't see swan race. But it is kind of
12 years of Swan. Come on now.
This is the last podcast. This is the podcast where you get canceled.
We made it all the way through. John Barber wanted to waterboard
Michael Harriet from the Root that was really angry about 12 Years a Slave the other day on Twitter. He's gonna just read a whole thing about this podcast.
12 Years a Swan? Question mark.
Movie night race. It's movie night like race extravaganza, like race extravaganza. There you go. Yeah,
this is going to be the weirdest pivot in the history of this show, but yeah, the Barbie Swan Lake. I would be interested in hearing Kristina, you and Ray talking about that, because as a dude, I don't know anything about that. Sorry. So can you?
As a father, unfortunately, I think I got that from the library for my kids.
Barbie Swan
library. Wait, back it up. You got it from the library.
Behind Rapunzel, it's like the best of the Barbie movies.
The library.
Princess and the Pauper is the best.
Oh yeah,
Barbie
I have
movie.
them too.
He's hands down. It's like one has blonde hair, one has brown hair, one lives in a basement dungeon for some reason. The other is a princess, but they were both princesses in the end.
And believe it or not, those princesses were played by Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon.
Well, so are they animated? Is it like stop motion?
Yeah, it's animated.
Okay.
No, it's not stop
it's like bad 3D CG.
Yeah.
I will say though, in my house, we were much bigger fans of Angelina Ballerina.
In this house, we listen to Angelina Ballerina.
Yeah.
In this house, we believe Black Swans matter.
Well, that's good. That was good.
No.
Yeah. Anyway.
That was a nice moment on the show Movie Night Extravaganza. Yes.
Our final episode.
Yeah, it was a good run, everybody. So sorry, tell me about this Barbie this Barbie Swan Lake business. Like, what's it? It's just like a straight up they're doing the play. Is there like backstory to it? Like, what's happening?
It's like the actual story.
Yeah, it's the story, but like obviously much less seductress and much less pernicious.
I was gonna say it's pretty salacious material for something that's sensibly aimed at children. But
yeah, no, it's not about like trying to fuck, right? Like it's more like trying to steal your man with my like beautiful smile-esque material.
That's a letterbox one-liner for you. Trying to fuck would be like Swan Lake. Well, but okay, so and here's why I bring it up, because like how many depictions of Swan Lake as a movie are there? I honestly have no idea. I know there's like 70,000 versions of Macbeth, like right, like.
Oh wait, look at that cat.
Oh yeah. Let's take a moment, everybody. Take a feline moment. Do you say deep chunk?
Big chunk.
Oh, big chunk.
He knows Ray's voice, so he's like, I have to say hello to Rayyvana.
He's my best friend, and I love him so much.
Deep chunk is now my new username, by the way. So
Conan Deep Chunk.
Goddamn right, I'm changing it right now. But okay, so
we always had to show
two cats. Oh, a Halloween cat. Look at that baby.
The one goddamn time these cats like scream at the door the entire time they were going, and they're like, nope, we're done now.
My cat is taking a fat nap on my bathroom rug right now, so I feel that.
So Okay, how do we feel about this production of Swan Lake? Like, do we feel like this is probably like kind of what a larger scale production of Swan Lake is supposed to look like? Is this more like, exaggerated for the purposes of narrative structure? Like, what do you think? I don't know. I never did ballet. Hard to believe. I know I never did ballet.
I doubt she actually grows wings in the show.
Well, I mean, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like, the
behind the scenes stuff, right?
Behind the scenes drama. Like, I don't know.
I have some friends who have done, I mean, not necessarily professional ballet, but they've gone through college as ballet dancers, and have been like, because you had to sort of get in at a really young age. So like in high school, they were vying to, join a company as opposed to like, going to college, because that's the time you have to be really young. And it is cutthroat. It is super competitive. It is sort of, you have to be willing to break your body without breaking your body completely. One injury is you're done. Like, you break your ankle, you join a company and you break your ankle, you might as well have not joined that company. You're out. You won't be able to come back in. Like, you won't be able to meet the expectation that they're going to have to you coming back from that injury, because everything they're going to tell you need to be able to do is something that your doctor's going to say, yeah, no fucking shot, you're doing that. And it's very stressful and competitive. But simultaneously, there's this weird, from what I've heard, obviously I've not been a part of this, I'm not built to be a ballerina. I am wide. I have large thighs. I would be laughed out of any ballet studio, aside from when I was like 7 years old. But, like, there is like a bizarre, like, you're supposed to view each other as a family and like your sisters, and it's like sort of like a sorority situation, but you're also constantly competing against one another.
Except for like insanely competitive.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're supposed to have created a family, but you also hate everyone at that family because you need to do better than them. You're competing for the same limited amount of roles.
Siblings.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a young decision, right? You have to start young. Like, if you start like I don't remember what the recommended age group is, but like you start like even like what seems like a somewhat reasonable time to an outsider, like, nope, it's over. It's too late for you.
Yeah.
It's like Yoda in Empire Strikes Back. You're too old.
What's the movie?
Big titty or otherwise, yes.
What's the movie? It's about ballerinas. It's a horror film. And
Suspiria?
Yes. I saw it by accident. There's a bar in Chicago called the Black Swan. I hate it. No, I love this bar so much. They have the best pizza in Chicago, but they only play weird foreign films.
You're the only person I know that could see Suspiria by accident.
Oh, it was totally. And you can ask my best friend Jay. We went to just enjoy a nice weekend and get some pizza. It was October, so this bar was only playing scary movies, and it was that movie. So I'm biting into my pizza, and I look up, and this woman is digging her heart out of her chest.
Yeah.
And it's horrifying, and I hated it, but I couldn't look away.
You've ever seen
love that movie.
That movie is so beautifully shot.
It is an amazing film, but also I hate scary movies, so I went home.
I watched. I meant that as a compliment. By the
myself of it. It was so bad.
Like you being the only one that can see Suspiria by accident. That's totally a compliment.
So pivoting us because this did get mentioned into the horror elements of this. I have a clip about the mirror, like using the mirrors, and I thought this was really interesting.
Cool. Am I the only one? So I know I watched this. I had not seen this before, but I expected there to be simultaneously more and less horror elements to it. I don't know why I expected both of those things.
I expected more Russian people for some reason. I don't know why.
After seeing the commercials as a child, I thought this film was a horror film. So I was actually really pleasantly surprised.
Psychological thriller.
I mean, it is a horror film, right? Like, it does in some ways.
I watched
like
this for Halloween.
The last 20 minutes of it is anyway.
Sound of Metal is a horror film if you're a musician, so take your pick.
It's this is a horror film if you're an aging ballerina.
Facts.
So this is interesting. I really like that. That's so the guy that's on the left next to Aronofsky. That's the cinematographer for this, and I really like his look. Like,
he was just at a museum where you touch one of those balls and it like
he's got like the gelled up hair though, goatee thing going on that was going on in the I mean, this is
Yeah.
2010.
He looks like he's gonna be Guy Fieri's stunt double or something.
Yeah.
It's a
He
flex.
looks like the Filipino Guy Fieri, I guess, is how I describe him.
People talking about it more and more. Yes.
Attaching what we do to ballet is a different story, and then attaching ourselves to that subculture is a different story. So that to me was the challenge, the biggest challenge of it.
So attaching yourself to mirrors was not the biggest challenge?
That's just technical stuff. You figure that out. You know, I don't think
figuring out ways to do it new and fresh and to reinvent the mirror gag, because I think we all realize that the mirror gag is one of the oldest horror gags out there. But it was from the day one we realized reflection, because the film is about doppelgangers and because it takes place in ballet studios where mirrors are omnipresent, that the mirror was going to be a major part of it. So one of the first things I had Andy do was actually pull every mirror gag from every movie he could think of as a montage, so that we could look at them and say, well, what is every way you can scare someone with a mirror, and then how do we take it to the next level?
So is the next level not scaring them and using it for other things, or?
I think adding a certain creep to it, but because I think, we were aware there was going to be a lot of cheap gags in the film. In fact, we called them cheap. What do we call them?
Pop shots.
Cheap gags. We knew they were, but we were trying to have as much fun with them as we could, because we knew that was a genre we were playing with. But how could we make it fresh and different, or push it to a new level?
suggesting them in other shots as well that weren't scare moments was a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's, and it just speaks to a consistent language for the film. I mean, there's a scene where she sees Lily for the first time. She walks off. That shot, when that camera follows her, it goes on forever. The cut happens a lot earlier. You just barely see a reflection coming in on the left of frame.
Mm-hmm.
That shot went on forever, but it was too much. But just seeing that little bit of reflection, subconsciously, I think the audience is connecting with that as a language. They see mirrors omnipresent in the sets and in the spaces, and then they feel the reflections happening naturally. I think that the way we sort of circumvented the problem of the cheesiness of having a reflection being a gag is using them in ways that weren't so heavy-handed. They were just sort of part of the environment.
You know, the other thing is we didn't really articulate this way, but I felt like we looked for a way to make it more organic and not necessarily unfair, that you just suddenly make something pop. That there's an hour or so in the movie where you have lots of little creeps and things that sneak in there and things that are off. Did I really just see that happen, or didn't I? And you don't underline it. It's just part of the environment and the paranoia that's surrounding her. So when it all spills over, it's been set up in the right way.
Well, even the paintings in Barbara Hershey's room are kind of a mirror gag, even though they're not a mirror gag.
Yeah. Well, they're all representations of her, and also the whole casting.
Right.
Trying to cast Winona and Natalie and Mila and even Barbara 20 years down the line, they're all reflections of each other.
I'm glad these dudes brought up Barbara Hershey, because she actually is awesome in this, and I feel like there's so many great performances. It's easy to forget about her, but
even though
she got brought up by Natalie Portman in that clip too, when she's talking about how they shot it afterwards.
Hold on, really quick. Do you see this cat right here?
Oh,
look at her in her little box,
kicking it, kicking it.
Sorry, I just I needed to share her with you all.
I've inadvertently shared both of my cats on multiple episodes of this show, so fully am down.
I used to when I used to have cats. I used to have them with my ex, and the cat would come behind me, and I had this mural behind me that was like a mountain scene, and I would be on Ben's show, and the cat would rip down the mural in the middle of me screaming every time to try to get attention. So you would just see like the entire thing just go, and then the facade of like a really boring wall. I'd be like, God damn it.
Which the way you worded that was just weird, because I'm just imagining you making the cat with your ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, she got pregnant, and then it was a cat, and I was like, oh fuck, it's a cat.
So it's not polite to talk about people's age, doubly so for actresses, but I just, for the heck of it, decided to look it up. Barbara Hershey's 74, so she would have been like, so 12 years ago was when this movie was made.
She was 62.
She does not look 62.
She didn't look.
That is some Barbara Crampton level genes. I mean, like, Jesus, does this woman age?
You know how it's hard.
Part vampire.
Speaking of Barbara Hershey, just how difficult it is for actresses over 40 to actually get roles, period.
To even be freaking cast in literally anything.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Emmy Rossum
Yes.
is 35 years old, and she's going to be playing Tom Holland's mother.
That's insane.
Yeah, I saw.
That's
I saw
literally
that
insane.
picture.
I'm like, what? She's my sister's age. I'm like,
She's supposed to be playing 5 years up, and he's supposed to be playing 5 years down. But like, she is a young-looking woman. Like that's insane casting.
Well,
presumably, I mean, making a guess, that the character of the mother is supposed to be like 47. I'm gonna say 48 because she's before. I mean, she's not 20.
It's implied that it ruined her ballet career that she had.
Yeah, and she was 28.
So it
I
makes
remember
sense.
she said, "Oh, you really? It ruined your ballet career. You were 28." So like, assuming she's like 18 or 19, right?
Yeah.
Like when she's in this movie, 47 would be how old the mother is.
I mean, she does. I mean,
Right,
she
which-
looks like in her late 40s,
She looks-
early 50s anyway. So
Yeah.
I mean, she's like age appropriate, beautiful, right? But like Aronofsky, like let's not forget, like Requiem for a Dream, Ellen Burstyn's performance in that. Oh,
yes,
the crap, amazing, and
I'm
I
not
love that.
afraid to hire older actresses. which
Well,
is good.
exactly, and like that shouldn't be something that you get a freaking cookie for. But like, I mean, credit where credit's due. Like, you know, like he's put more effort than most have, which is to say nothing into doing so. Yeah, more than nothing is a lot of effort somehow. But
I mean, it's interesting.
also,
right?
I just want to talk about Requiem for a Dream apparently because I fucking love that movie. Although I hate that movie. I love it, but I hate it. 5 stars. Don't want to watch it. Thank you.
I mean, it's yeah. I think I've seen parts of it. I don't think I've ever seen the whole thing because I'm like I don't.
It's so good, but it is the most. It's the most messed up bummer trip ever. Like it's like, oh.
Yeah, no. Every time I ever talk about anything involving like one of my friends going through addiction or something, that's the movie that my mom brings up, and she's like, "Requiem from a Dream," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's why I don't want to delve into it."
It's no Man with a Golden Arm, but
but they did copy that shot though of Frank Sinatra's eyes.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
it's. And we're not talking about that movie. We're talking about Black Swan. So let's talk about Black Swan. But we should do Requiem someday because I absolutely adore it, and it's got some great performances, including by someone, a male lead who I will not name that I don't generally freaking like, but he's great in that.
So the thing is though that like the two kinds of roles you can get kind of because I mean it's expanding a little bit, right? Like for female for actresses that are getting a little bit older, you can kind of get a role over like 65 or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Cool grandma.
Yeah. You get kind of a cool grandma thing, and then you get like an under.
Like, yo, cool grandma can get it. All right.
It's very similar to how the porn industry works when it comes
Grandma's
to casting women who are MILFs. Like once you're 30, you're a MILF.
That's
if you're like
crazy,
20 to like 29, you're considered like the daughter role. I mean, it's interesting how it's like once you're 30, you're old. You're old enough to be a mom. Like look at Emmy Rossum, she's 35 and she's playing. I mean, even Aubrey Plaza in the Beetlejuice remake, not the Beetlejuice, the Child's Play.
Oh,
I got Beetlejuice on my mind.
I was like, say what?
But Aubrey Plaza played a mom for the first time in Child's Play.
What? She's so young.
Yeah, and the excuse was, "Oh, I had fun on at a party when I was 16." I'm like, "Of course, they have to make a teen mom."
We're the generation of teen moms, right? Like it's kind of.
I guess they're starting to do that now.
Well, no, but they've introduced that concept into the lexicon, so they can do things like that. Like I feel like they introduced that reality show to kind of make that a pretty common thing within our.
I mean, to be
culture,
fair, there were pregnant girls in my middle school long before Teen Mom existed.
Oh yeah, I knew a girl who was 12 and she had a kid. So that's
I know plenty of girls that were teen moms. I'm just saying, like, it is kind of a concept they've brought into the culture. I mean, through that show, but also just in general to like continue it so that like there's a disproportionate amount, I think, of teen moms in movies versus like teen moms in real life. Like
depends on where you are, but yeah.
Can I just point out something that apparently Gina Rowlands, when she did A Woman Under the Influence, anybody want to guess how old she was?
I'm gonna guess 48.
Pretty close. She was 40. She was 44 years old, and that was one of her first breakout roles. Opening night was 3 years later, right?
Well,
but she was still. Go ahead.
All right. Sorry.
No, I was just saying that like it's just crazy. So that's the 70s, right? And of course, it's 70s and it's Cassavetes, right? Who like
yeah. Well, that's I mean, that's what I say. That's her husband directing her. Like,
sure, but like A Woman Under the Influence is maybe one of the best acting performances of all time.
Yeah, no,
we covered on the show. We talked
watching
about
it.
Right?
Watching it, it's an amazing movie. I'm just saying,
astounding.
I'm just saying, like when it comes down to like the casting of it, right? It's Cassavetes casting his best friend and his wife as
nepotism.
Well, it's not nepotism.
Well, it's not nepotism because she had the skills, but like she was playing a part that was like probably 15 years younger than she actually was.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't matter because she was so goddamn good at it, right? And that's why it's acting and not documentaries.
I mean, they also did something similar with like Unfaithful with Diane Lane. Like she was only like in her like mid 30s, but like Olivia Martinez was also like close to her in age, like a year younger. Yet they made him seem a lot younger, like in his like 20s.
Yeah, they also did something similar with The Irishman.
we don't talk about that on this show. Because
we don't speak of The Irishman.
Really quickly though, Forrest, could you give us a review of those Surge? That's what you're drinking, right? The Surge White Claw.
No, I wasn't drinking a Surge White Claw. I'd
like to welcome our sponsor, Surge White Claw.
The Surge White Claw made me physically sick.
They're strong.
No, it wasn't that it was strong. It's just something about it kicked up like my acid reflux, and I felt very sick the next day after drinking that.
I have an upset stomach. It happens.
I'm drinking. This is a Bang, and I hate to, show up.
Oh, that's a bad company, but I love a Bang.
Yeah, we love a good Bang on this show.
You could probably take that out of context to get money for that, Ray. Like just by saying that.
So somebody
I've said worse.
All right, so I have one more thing that I really wanted to bring into this conversation because of Andy and his role on the show, Andy Pop Shots World. I found a clip of in that interview. They're talking about the color palette. So as soon as I see anybody talking about the color palette in a movie, I'm like, I got to grab that for Andy to talk about. Yo, that was probably the most fun episode.
That was a fantastic episode.
Yeah. That episode is upper echelon, to say the least.
I know Andrea, but I don't know her that well. So I was like, I don't know how she's gonna fit in on the show necessarily. And then she fit in perfectly, and I was like, oh fuck yeah! Like that was...
She was a blast. She was awesome. She got it immediately. You love that. It's like Werner Herzog watching the skateboard videos.
Where did you guys, Maddie and Andrew, start in terms of this? Had you been reading scripts as they were coming in along the way and developing, or do you start from the day Darren says, "Okay, we're going to actually shoot this thing"?
I mean, I started when he decided he wanted to work with me again. But I had heard about it after Requiem for a Dream. It was called The Understudy. So this thing's been around forever. It was, I think I might have heard about it initially before The Fountain. Mm-hmm. Even shot as something that he was thinking about doing.
Fountain sucks.
It wasn't until after The Wrestler he decided to do it. And then I probably came on, 3 months before we actually started shooting.
Yeah, but you probably read the script way before.
I had read a couple different drafts of the script. One as The Understudy and then another one as Black Swan. So
was the look of the film given in the script, or?
No, that had to be sort of.
No, it was when me, Maddie, and Therese and Amy West got the costume designer, got together. I remember the meeting. We had 2 or 3 days of meetings, which is always how it happens. Same thing on The Fountain. You just sit in a room till you get it. We just sit around, throw out ideas. And when you start with a color film, you start with color. That's the first thing. Mm-hmm. Color or kind of a whole sort of approach to framing would be, or approach it, what type of, how the frame's going to work. But those are the 2 main things you got to attack.
The palette's a big one. I mean, deciding on the palette's a big one. And then the language, it informs the language. Mm-hmm. And the camera movement and the framing, the composition informs the language. So, those are the 2 things we concentrate on mostly. The quality of the light, and it just speaks, that just sort of happens naturally after we decide what kind of environment we're trying to create. Mm-hmm. The Fountain was clearly it's 3 different worlds, but there was something symbiotic between them all, obviously with the character. And then this one was something that had to be set in reality, especially because, the original conceit was that it was an accompaniment film to the wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to honor that, even, not having done that, I wanted to honor what I felt atmospherically from that film, and then but set it in the ballet world. So that was the bit of a challenge, but that went into the construction of the visual language of the film.
And what about the complexity? I mean, are you sitting there going, this is more difficult than another film that you may have made, or is it just what it is and you're figuring out things the same way?
I think every film's difficult if it's worth doing, And this one had, obviously this one had challenges that no other film that I've ever made had. But, there was things that came a lot easier too.
Like what?
But just the relationship part of it. We've basically built a career on concentrating on character. Mm-hmm. I like to think, as stylized as the films that we've done together are, I think that we've always attached what we do as in a collaboration to character. Mm-hmm. So that part came naturally.
I think I low key fuck with that guy. I like his vibes. I don't like his haircut. I like his vibes.
I like that guy, and I like his haircut. I just feel like when do you ever
wish you had hair?
Yeah.
Damn.
Okay, I'm out.
Got real hair for a minute. Okay.
No, but I don't know. I just don't feel like I see a cinematographer with that vibe. There's a clip where he's talking about Roger Deakins and like being in the same room, and he's like, "No, I still can't form sentences when I'm in the same room as Roger Deakins."
All right, now I really like him.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, and like the colors were actually kind of interesting because there was a lot of black and white in this, because of the whole white swan, black swan thing, and notice like the transition period when she was starting to collapse, she was wearing gray, and then before she became the black swan, but at first she was wearing white because she was the white swan, like our favorite Frenchman said, you're the perfect white swan, but you don't have the black swan in you. And then you see.
Would you like
some Frenchman in you? Yeah.
You do not have the black swan in you. By the way, I call my dick Black Swan. Would you like some Black Swan in you?
But she also wears pink, right? When she's with her mom at home, a lot of the times she's shown wearing pink, which is like, I'm assuming meant to symbolize her being treated like a little girl by her mom. You dress your little girls in pink and frilly things, and that's what she wears at home. And her room is horrendous. The worst room I've ever seen in my fucking life.
Like a 5-year-old's room.
Literally
Also,
like a
her
5-year-old's
mom's
room.
paintings.
Dancing A+, room D-.
Mm-hmm.
You know what she needs? She needs some fucking Jordan Peterson. Clean your room. Clean your fucking room.
Clean your room, bucko.
I mean, can you blame Mila Kunis for denying that she was there that night? She was probably really embarrassed with those Hello Kitty sheets.
Didn't also near the end when she was really fighting what was like going on inside her, she was throwing away her stuffed animals and like doing this and doing that, and I'm like, good for you, finally doing something about that god awful room.
Yeah.
But there's also the awkward thing where she's yelling at her mom and she's like, "I banged everybody tonight." And I was thinking, like, if Mila Kunis actually was there, like that character, right? At first you don't know whether she was there or not, and she's kind of just staying there while while she's yelling at her room, being like, "Tom and Jerry, I banged both of them." Yes. And I had a friend, like one of my
Nanny, Mo, Jack, all of them, the whole 9 yards.
Sebastian Stan.
So one of my best friends, Ryan, he was black, and he's always like. He always would make fun of me because like if my mom and I got into a fight and he was living at our house for a while, like if he's like, no, like it's weird that like white kids will like just yell at their moms back and like, you know what I mean? Like black dudes don't do like, you don't do that in a black family. You know what I mean? Like a lot of I mean, I'm sure there are black kids that do that, but like in general, like that's like a very white kid thing to do. So I was just thinking about like White Swan, Black Swan, and fucking Mila Kunis just watching her fucking scream at her mom and being like,
White swans be like this, and black swans be like this.
This is the last episode of the show for sure. That sealed the deal.
I'm leaning into it, friends.
Let me just say the word.
I'd like to think that she did fuck Mila Kunis because I'm jealous. So
I know, right?
I mean, goals, right?
Although Mila Kunis, I think, is one of those weird parents who like doesn't bathe their children. Her and
really?
Ashton Kutcher, like super, like they're like, yeah. What's the other woman's name from the really crappy TV show about heaven, The Good Place? Kristen Bell.
Kristen Bell.
I like
first of all,
I like The Good Place. I think it's a bad show, but I like The Good Place.
okay, it's good. Don't you dare speak ill about the Queen.
But she
Because she's
is
fantastic.
weird. Like all her kids they all sleep in the same room, her husband and her kids. And they
rich, you
don't
don't have to do
bathe.
that. Like-
They don't bathe. They don't like take baths. They smell so bad that she like there was like a fungus in her bed. I don't know why they're so open about this. That she thought it was her husband's feet, but it smelled so putrid. It took them forever to figure out that their mattress was growing a fungus because she thought
Where
it
did
was
you
just
get
her
this
husband's.
information?
They
Like,
just
where
put
did
it out there for the world to hear.
Well, Dak Shepard has
shame.
a podcast. where
No
he's-
shame.
Dak
Apparently
Shepard has a
not.
podcast where he talks about a lot of different stuff. My brother tried to get into that my brother tried to get me into that podcast, and I was like, no, I will not.
That's a pass, dog.
I think he had like some Sam Harris episode or something that my brother told me. I don't know. There was some weird thing that happened with Dak Shepard. I'm not being shepherded into that herd. Sorry.
Is it almost letterbox time, by the way?
As we say, talk about lack of shame. Dak Shepard's in the comebacks. Anyway, Letterboxd is a place for film. It is a open source democracy. Everyone gets to have their say. There's no Eberts, no Siskel's, no lords, no masters. Everybody gets to have their time in the sun to crack wise, opine, just be on the internet. As we
I
all
gotta
know
say
it's
though,
me.
like Ebert, I don't have much of a chin.
Fair enough. This is the recurring bit that we do on this show where Conan Neutron, comb all of the reviews of Letterboxd and find the ones that are the funniest, the weirdest, the most baffling, oblique, prone to conversation, whatever, usually expressed in the one-liner form, which, as many things on the internet, succinct is best. I myself am not succinct. We all know that about me. But these are the ones that I pulled for Black Swan. Forrest, let him have it. I'm never going to look in a mirror, cut my nails, listen to music, wear lipstick, acknowledge the existence of birds, or masturbate again.
Ew, she does masturbate in front of her mom, and we didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, that was maybe one of the most horrific things about this movie for me.
Yeah.
Big exorcist energy.
Forrest screamed in that scene too.
I would hope so.
Imagine if she went to therapy.
I know, right?
It would have been goddamn unstoppable.
Would have been 20 minutes long too. Girl, what the fuck? Alexia with that one. This is not like the Barbie movie.
And she's right, and she should say it. Nicole is right.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm actually reading the reviews for the Barbie movie, and it's quite amazing. Like, this one person said that Stanley Kubrick and Quentin Tarantino could never. This movie invented cinema.
Probably true.
Are we subredditing the Letterboxd one-liners? I love it. Whiplash, but for mentally ill hot girls.
Hell yeah.
True.
It's Grace. Yeah, that's a true statement, really.
Yes.
Mila Kunis going down on Natalie Portman is modern cinema.
Well, we know which side he watched this on.
5 stars by Jess. Yeah.
Of course.
Well, it's good she gave it 5 stars.
Get horny or get off my stage. Vincent Cassell.
I love that scene. I love that scene where you think he's gonna try to get with her, and he doesn't try to get with her, and he's like, "Go home. My assignment for you is to masturbate at home." Which, number one, fucking Natalie Portman's character loves homework. So
True. True. And you should say it.
I was really hoping she'd look into the mirror as a full-on swan. You know what? Hard same.
I like that. That's funny. That's good and true.
big swan energy.
You got to lose yourself in the music. The moment you own it, you better never let it go.
I made that Now thinking about that review, I made that joke yesterday when he goes, "You must lose yourself," and he's like, his arms are heavy. Whatever, like these arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already, on her
Mom
sweater already.
spaghetti.
Mom spaghetti. You know what I mean? Like that's her going into the show, like
Big Mom spaghetti
going into the ballet.
Wearing Uggs on a regular basis will do that to a person.
What's that supposed to mean?
every
bring it up with Haley, who did not rate this film.
Haley Exton, what the fuck did you mean by that?
Every girl in 2010, every girl in 2010 watching this, I relate to this movie. I don't know, something about it.
it's the webbing of my feet of wearing Uggs.
Haley will see Rayyvana at the round back of the Arby's.
And I will be there too, by the way. Just saying.
Thank
Those
you.
are Letterboxd review. Those are Letterboxd review one-liners for Black Swan, everybody. Movie Night Extravaganza. You can follow Movie Night Extravaganza on Letterboxd. Movie Night Extra, that's Forrest over there. I, of course, am Conan Neutron. And then J. Andy World over there with the pallet attack. He's on there. Pop Shots. Kristina, Rayyvana, neither of you are on Letterboxd, right?
I am. I'm Kristina.
You are actually.
Yes,
Kristina
I'm
is
following
on as well. Follow Kristina. Follow all of us.
I've never seen a movie, so I couldn't join.
Rayyvana only sees movies by accident.
I only see movies by accident or to prepare for this podcast.
Letterboxd, which puts you above some of the guests, by the way. Letterboxd, a place for film.
Isn't that kind of what Anna Gasparian said coming on this, by the way, on our Blue Velvet? So she's like, I haven't watched a movie in a while.
Yeah, more or less. And it was Blue Velvet, and she did not care for it, which was hilarious.
Which is incorrect. I love Anna, but that was the wrong opinion. Blue Velvet is a fantastic film.
Agreed. And it was really hard for me to be backstage for that section of it. Anyway,
I know I did it for as long as I did on purpose.
Oh man, I came out struggle. I came out like Rocky Balboa on that one. I was like, all right, first of all, dissenting opinion, Blue Velvet is awesome. Like, and then I'll be wet. Letterboxd, place for film. Follow all of the various people that we put on Letterboxd. There's also lots of other things you should do on there. It's a cool site. We are not a sponsor. Andy, take it away.
Yeah, well, while you're doing cool things, make sure that you are subscribing to us if you can. And if you have a Amazon Prime account, you can subscribe for free. So please do that. Also, we have a this appears on YouTube. You know, like and subscribe. Click that little bell. Do all those YouTube things, and that'd be fantastic. And of course, we also have a Patreon, which keeps the show going. Lets us do really cool things at times, and not really. We
not so far, but at some point.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
But we are going to expand like what we're giving to you on that. I think next week we're doing our bonus stream for subscribers.
Yeah.
We're doing a post game for This Is Revolution. So subscribe now so you can watch that. But yeah, do all that stuff right now.
So thank you, Andy. If it was me, I would have said ring that bell like Mila Kunis rang Natalie Portman's.
Oh! By the way, my Letterboxd one-liner for this movie, if I was doing that and not like having a deeper analysis of it, would have been when Natalie Portman's about to like make out with fucking Mila Kunis after taking the Molly, and she's like getting real into her face. I'm like, about to make out with your same-sex friend, like while rolling face, like she's just like me for real. I went through a like making out with my guy friends while rolling face to face, and it was interesting. That was like it was. So watching that, I was like, yeah, I've been there. Like that's
She just like me. She just like me for real. Me and Kristina when we finally link up.
Yes.
Digs in her back. She's just like me for real.
We are feathers.
I also have wings.
Me slamming my mom's hand in the door. She just like me.
I don't want any more cake, Mom. God fucking damn it.
Harsh realm.
All right. Well, starting with Rayyvana. Final thoughts about this movie, about Natalie Portman, about head for Mila Kunis. I don't know, whatever you want to throw in there.
I mean, that's a topic for every show, frankly, if you're asking me.
Yes, very valid. I liked the film quite a bit. I liked Natalie Portman's performance in the film a lot because I didn't like her character, and I think that's because I've taken the Black Swan pill a little too much in my personal life, so I did not empathize with her. But like the fact that I couldn't empathize with her made me enjoy the film more. I think it's like I think that the lesson from the movie is important in all aspects of art, because I think content creation is art, and I think that a lot of content creators take themselves
bitches be crazy.
Yeah, right. I think a lot of content creators take themselves way too seriously on their pursuit of perfection and having the best take and making the best content. My YouTube video isn't perfect yet, so let me delist it and make all these changes and put it back up and then delist it 5 days later. These comments criticizing it, and so on and so forth. And it's just, I think we all need to a little bit embody more of Mila Kunis's character in this film and say, we give a shit about the craft, but at the end of the day, we do what we do, and we should lead into that. And if we don't become the most famous Twitch streamer or a YouTuber or whatever, that's okay, as long as we're enjoying what we're doing and putting out content that's true to who we are. I've definitely watched it because I didn't see it when I was a kid, or didn't see it when it came out. I didn't watch it till yesterday. So when I watched it, it was like, I'm applying it to my own form of, what I perceive to be art. So that's just sort of how I viewed it. And I liked it. I think that it's a good movie. I think that it's, shot really well. I think that generally I really liked it versus some of the other movies I've seen to come on here. Namely one film, and that film was Nightmare on Elm Street. And fuck you for making me watch that. But I actually really like this.
Freddy Krueger, just like me, for real.
Fuck him. Gross.
Both the movies, though, had a scene in the bathtub that got fucking weird.
That's true. That's true. Not Five Nights at Freddy's. The Nightmare on Elm Street one was worse though and grosser. So
yeah, well, she started bleeding in the fucking tub, but yeah, I guess sure.
That's different. He sexually assaulted a child in the tub. Like different.
Assumably, so did Tomas at some point in his
career.
Oh, hey! At some point in his career, I don't know.
It's okay. He's French. We allow that, apparently.
Black Swan or Cuties? Which one?
Come on.
Yes, it's very Roman Polanski.
I didn't watch the French version. I didn't watch the U.S. version. I have no interest in watching either of those movies. I'm just throwing that out there.
And don't.
Yeah, please don't.
I won't.
So next episode of Movie Night Extravaganza, we're doing Cuties.
Oh, come back on Friday when we talk about both versions of Cuties and which ones we enjoyed more. Anyway,
it's great being on this show. Thanks everybody. It's my last episode.
Kristina, I'm sure you have paragraphs on paragraphs. Let's hear it.
So Black Swan is my favorite movie of all time. It's one of those movies that I can watch over and over and over and over again and not get bored. Natalie Portman is phenomenal. Mila Kunis is amazing. Very underrated as an actress, in my opinion. The cinematography is amazing. I love the Black Swan score that is used from Swan Lake. I love the idea of this need for perfection and resistance to letting go. Yeah, it's you would think I would have a lot of paragraphs, but I've seen it so many times where it's just I don't even know what to say at this point, because it's people find it weird that Black Swan would be my favorite movie, but I'm there's just something about it that I love, and it's hard to really put my finger on it.
No, I get it. You're
ballet shoes on it.
You want to stab Rayyvana with glass when you meet her,
and she will, and it'll be awesome, and I welcome it.
It's my turn to be on the TYT Twitch. It's my turn.
She's invited me on, so it's all good.
She's been on twice now. I'd have her on anytime. She's amazing, and I love her.
Wow, I would have thought it was more than twice, but I guess if you really want to have her.
He's just like Tomas.
Yeah, I was gonna say Tomas over here. I was literally.
I am seething conflict to try to make the art better. No, and I think that Mila Kunis kind of suffers from her own attractiveness in some ways, because I've never seen her in a performance.
I have the same problem.
It's 4 Days or whatever it's called was a really, what's the movie she did with Glenn Close recently about her playing a heroin addict. I think she was her character was addicted.
Yeah, I saw scenes of her playing a heroin addict. I didn't know what movie it was for. I kind of just assumed it. No,
it got some. It's based on a true story, and she does a really good performance.
Still billing elegy.
But no, so I've never seen her in something that I'm like, oh, Mila Kunis did a bad job. But I think like her attractiveness in some ways makes it so that people don't exactly take it seriously. Like, oh, Mila Kunis is in another movie. So I mean that kind of makes it interesting, right? To be like, well, yeah, her performance is really good, even if some people think it's strange that is that way. It's like, yeah, but she's like a good actress. I don't.
She's got skills. She's very good. She's very, very good.
Now it makes me want to watch the American Psycho sequel that she starred in.
Andy.
What?
Stop.
Conan, let's hear some final thoughts.
All right, you got it. All right, so
final swans. Your swan song.
Let's just cleanse the palate with a palate attack here. By the way, was that the only one that heard that? Because I was like, palate attack. Why is it attacking? Like, why is it like such an aggressive thing with color? Anyway, whatever. That was like 20 bits ago. The pursuit of perfection is a powerful drive. Many artists of all kinds break their ship on the rocks in its pursuit. So this is a very tense and taut character study of doubt, self-doubt, real world concerns, delusion, and borderline psychosis that an artist can go through. And in this case, the art is ballet, but it's attributable to anything. And I loved Rayyvana's analogy towards streaming and things along, because it really is applicable to anything. Portman, Kunis, brilliantly acted. Barbara Hershey, also great. Everyone in this is pretty badass, frankly.
Even Sebastian Stan's one small scene.
Sebastian Stan's really the standout. But
well, I've never seen ballet, so you guys dance, right? You dance. That's what you guys do. That's what ballet is. I don't know. Or are you guys the people that park cars? That's a ballet. Ballet. I don't.
So anyway, I love the rivalry / friendship / Andy's Fight Club fantasy of Kunis and Portman. And it does keep you guessing, right? And I love, more importantly, I love the dedicated worker of the craft, which is Natalie Portman's character, and the more effortlessly cool natural talent, which is Mila Kunis. That it's well laid out. There's many twists and turns, but the dichotomy between them and the fact that Portman wants what Kunis has in this, their characters do anyway. And I wish I could remember any of the characters' name. I love this movie, by the way.
Nina and Lily are the characters.
Nina and Lily. So, yeah. But she wants what she has, but doesn't even realize that I let it go. I got to practice letting go. Let it
go. Let it go.
Yo, I'm frozen over here. I don't know how to practice letting go.
Ugh.
We really went there, huh? Okay. Well, Kristen Bell is in that too, right?
Well, Andy's a dad, so I just followed.
You get parent dispensation for sure.
It's kind of like the allowance you give to French people, but with corniness.
Well, my kid made me watch Frozen. It was just like they were like, "Isn't she so talented?"
She just like me for real. Anyway.
So the dichotomy between their two characters and how they approach the art, I think, is actually really good in terms of looking how people approach art. Because some people look at it like homework assignments, right? And some people look at it like hey man, it's about the journey, right? And if I happen to be really badass at this, that's great, but I'm not going to bother showing up dance practice when I don't want to because I got shit going on. There's also a big factor of sexual repression and awakening that plays a huge role. Transactional exchanges we got into somewhat, and perceived transactional exchanges, which is kind of where I feel like this movie elevates into something real special. Is the fact that your mind naturally goes certain places and it fills in blanks that may or may not be there, and I actually really dig that. So all that included, I think I've rarely seen a film that's more effective at showing the psychic cost it takes to bare your soul for your art.
Well, you see,
and I was stoked about it.
one thing we didn't talk about is that you see that part where Tomas is having sex with, I don't even know, like they purposely don't really show the face. I think it's the girl that she says, "Oh, congratulations" to or something at first. She witnesses that sex scene, and then all of a sudden he turns into the Black Swan, and like right in front of her. And that's like one of the early moments where you're like, "Oh fuck, what the fuck is going on in this movie? Like, is any of this real?"
But that's all about her pathos and her like she's.
But I'm saying like
seen...
so with perceived transactional,
exactly
relationships, like you're looking at that and you're like, how much of this is real? How much of this is her kind of feeling jealousy because for once, Tomas is paying attention to other dancers, which he does on purpose, obviously, to try to inspire her to be better in his mind, to inspire his creative genius to be put up on a pedestal. You know what I mean? So it's like, throughout this movie, you're kind of wondering that on a lot of different occasions because of the fact that it's like also when Mila Kunis says, "Oh, I saw him this morning," and like kind of gives you that thing, like you're kind of filling the blanks with that. And it's like, how much of that is actually him like oozing sexuality in all of his relations with these dancers, using that power dynamic to like, be French or whatever. And how much of it is actually happening. So I don't know. I find that like kind of fascinating. Also, the fact that she's kind of the one that spurns him by biting his lip. We didn't even talk about that, and that's what gets her the role.
Which is like a weird reverse werewolf thing. Like she bites him, and then she becomes the werewolf.
She is the werewolf. Oh no, I must give her the role. But Andy,
hold on. I actually wasn't done. But I had one more line. So first of all, like I'm going to say it again because this is important. I want this to be heard. That I've rarely seen a film that's that effective at showing the psychic cost that it takes to bare your soul for the art. And also, I'm really glad we covered this because I finally watched it. Thank you, Kristina, because this is a great movie. There you go. That's
and it also gives you that the artist quality of it, right? It's something that is extremely tenuous, like ballet dancing as the most kind of tenuous art form because you're kind of done with it by 20 something. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
there's a hard in for it, but I mean, also like to a certain, I mean, I could, if anyone was wanted to listen to me rattle on about it, I could absolutely apply all of this to like music, to making records, and touring and things along those, as Andy could towards like, visual art and stuff along those lines. As we all could towards podcasting, and in some cases, Rayyvana has. Like, it's applicable to everything, but it's the most tragic that it's something that literally there's not a perceived end date. There's an actual end date where you physically cannot do these things anymore.
Yeah.
Right. That's
it's
harsh.
not the ending.
That is
it's not the ending where you're not physically capable of doing it anymore. It's not the ending where you're like, oh, well, this person isn't physically capable of dancing. I'm sure Beth is physically still capable of dancing. It's just like the audience is like, oh no, this person's
perceived.
Cool.
The perception's baked in as part of the overall framing of the art itself, which is effed up from the floor up. Thank you. I'm trying to curse less on this show.
All right, Andy, let's hear some pop shots.
Some pop shots. Yeah, these are going to be completely coherent too. No, I got to co-sign everything Conan just said because it is absolutely like, completely relatable to any artist, which is certainly a sign of a great film right there is being able to, apply it so broadly, even though it's about something so specific. One thing I thought was actually kind of interesting is that before doing this, I watched a review of the movie where this alien is trying to explain this movie to his people, but does it as calls it a sports team. They are a team of ballerinas and it's a coach and they're the Swan Lakers. It's a dumb review. No, they're really actually has really smart parts to it. I bring that up because that truly also is a sports movie as well. Like, as artists, like, me and Conan, we can do this until, basically, I don't know, past
until the wheels come off, baby.
Pretty much. Yeah. Whereas ballet dancers, football players, basketball players, and so on, Swan Lakers, they have, they have this Best Buy date and they have to fight to, because they don't have to, they may mentally mature into being able to perform it later in life, but they have to be able to, but they physically might not be able to perform it later in life.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd say that in in sports, like that's true, but in with ballet specifically, right? Like there's like one person that's been able to perform for a really long time. They mention her in this, like Fontaine. Like,
I mean, you got that in sports too.
In sports you definitely have an end date, but in sports you also get to be the, at some point maybe you get to be a coach, or maybe
but I mean, maybe you get to be a ballet instructor. Maybe you get to
But like this movie kind of makes it clear that like the men are the ballet instructors. You know what I mean? Like the person. It's not like former ballet.
But Angelina Ballerina made it clear that the women.
No, but just
to be clear, Forrest, the man in the movie is not an instructor; he's a director.
Yeah,
there are female instructors in the movie.
But instructors don't get
the recognition. They don't get the class.
No. So what I'm saying is, like, in sports, even at the end of it, right? You get to be possibly, not for sure, but like possibly you get to be like a team owner, right? Or like some kind of manager or something like that. Like in ballet, you don't it's still like some guy that isn't doing any of the dancing, that's kind of just sitting there in the audience, like looking at you with disdain, being like, I am the one getting the credit for this, so be careful, how you dance. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like at the end of it, you're like, and I'm sure they do talk about like, at least Natalie Portman talks about how like a lot of ballerinas have written books and like, kind of gotten on the press junket. But like within that sport though, it's not, or within that, that creative form, it's not the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, but to talk about the physicality of it, the fact that, you only have so much time before you can do your art before you have to move on to other less physically taxing.
No, I agree with that. I'm on board with that.
And I think sexism does play a part in the fact that why aren't there more women coaches in ballet teams? Why there aren't more, why the opportunity?
More women sex pests. More women sex pests.
I don't see you. I am a woman and I'm not attracted to this. Come on, pick it up.
But yeah, no, I mean, we don't. It would be very different if it was, a woman playing that, the director. But
yeah,
that's a whole other conversation. I've completely lost my track of thought here. Where I'm going with this.
So let me use this as an opportunity to mention To Dance on Sands, the life and art of Death Valley's Marta Beckett, who is one of my favorite people in the history of humanity. Is an incredible ballet artist who pulled up stakes from New York, was originally going to LA, broke down on the way in Death Valley Junction, population 50, bought up the old borax mining facility quarters with a small opera house and staged borax mining facility.
Oh, very good, very good.
Very nice.
Very nice. We get some miners in here.
So they had these quarters for the workers, and then they had a small opera house, because this is like a.
Would you say those quarters were very nice?
Who did those quarters belong to? My wife.
Small little opera house that she basically, after losing a wheel, losing a wheel on the trailer, carrying all of her worldly belongings, bought the place, converted it, hand painted it like the Sistine Chapel, and staged dance performances that people come to from miles and miles around. And it's a beautiful, beautiful book, beautiful story, beautiful person. There's a documentary as well called Amargosa that I find quite empowering, as fuck all to do with Borat. But it's the book is very good. It's called The Dance on Sands.
I've actually seen that documentary, and I can
it's
vouch.
So good.
It's amazing. It's fantastic.
She's up there as amongst my favorite people and like goals, frankly. So anyway, Swan Lakers, Conan Neutron, here to tell you Marta Beckett's awesome. Yes.
Well, what I will say for my final thoughts, and this goes out to all of you as streamers, you know what I mean? Just in general, we need their cash. Don't forget to smile.